We continue now at the top of Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Beis Meseches Zevachim. This is Zevachim Daf 37b. On the previous summit, the Gemara asked, what does Rabbi Yossi HaGlili do with the words Uvesaram Yielach by Bechor? It says in plural Uvesaram. Now, the simple meaning of the pasuk is that the meat is going to be for you, for the Kohanim. And the issue in Rabbi Yossi HaGlili was that Rabbi Yossi HaGlili learns that when it says the plural as Domam Tizrok Al HaMizbeach by Bechor, when it says V'eschelbam Taktir by Bechor, it says that in plural. Rabbi Yossi HaGlili understood that that's referring to not only Bechor, but also Karban Pesach, also Meiser Behema, that there also we say Domam Tizrok, we say that the blood is thrown, Chelbam Taktir, the sacrificial portions are burned. And the issue is you can't say that Uvesaram is talking about Karban Pesach and Meiser Behema, because it's Uvesaram Yelach, it goes to you, it goes to the Kohanim, and by the Karban Pesach, by Meiser Behema, the meat does not go to the Kohanim. And so therefore the question is, what does he do with Uvesaram? And the Gemara answered on the previous Amud that Rabbi Yossi HaGlili understands that Uvesaram teaches us that the meat of the Bechor, whether it's a Baal Mum or whether it is a Tam, whether it has no blemish, that goes to the Kohen. As the Gemara now continues, Limed al Bechor, this teaches about a Bechor Baal Mum. If you have an animal that's a Bechor but it has a blemish, Shenitan LeKohen, that it's given to the Kohen. Shalom Matzinu Lo Bechol HaTorah Kula, because we don't find that anywhere in the Torah. This is the source for that halacha. And the Gemara continues, if that's the case for Rabbi Yishmael, so what does Rabbi Yishmael? He already, again, when he said Uvesaram Yelach, that the plural of Uvesaram is the same as the plural of Damam and Chelbam, according to Rabbi Yishmael, and really the plural is simply indicating the different kinds of animals that can be Bechor, because it talks about a Bechor Shor, a Bechor Kesev, a Bechor Eiz, and so therefore he can't use Uvesaram to teach this halacha by Bechor Balmum. So where is he going to learn that the meat of a Bechor Balmum goes to the Kohen? Rabbi Yishmael Nafkalei, Rabbi Yishmael will learn that out, L'chayiyah de Seifa. He's going to learn that out from the pasuk of L'chayiyah at the end of the pasuk. Again, that's going to teach L'chayiyah that belongs to the Kohen. And Rashi explains, Limed al Bechor Baal Mum Shenitan LeKohen. Again, this teaches about a Bechor Baal Mum that it's given to the Kohen. The meat is given to the Kohen. Shalom Matzinu Lo Makam Acher B'chol HaTorah Kula. We don't have another source for that. And Rashi notes, according to this, V'damam v'chelbam. Now, in terms of the plural of Damam and Chelbam, maybe you'll suggest that also refers to a Bechor Baal Mum. That's not possible. Lekal Ukmei Bechad Bechor, the Baal Mum Lo Karav. That you can't say, because the Bechor Baal Mum is actually not offered as a carbon, and so therefore, again, we apply this just to the pasuk of Uvesaram. And Rabbi Yishmael learns this halacha about Bechor Baal Mum Shenitan LeKohen. He learns it out from L'chayiyah de Seifa. The end of the pasuk, it says L'chayiyah. The pasuk, the full pasuk says Ucheshok Hayomin L'chayiyah. At the very end of that pasuk, it says again L'chayiyah. That's what teaches us that the Bechor Baal Mum is given to the Kohen. And the Gemara continues, B'shalam Rabbi Yossi HaGlili, it works out according to Rabbi Yossi HaGlili, Demuki Leinami B'Meiser Pesach, because he says the pasuk by Bechor is also talking about Meiser Behema, and it's also talking about Karban Pesach. Hainu Dichsiv, so that explains what's written in the pasuk. Lo Sifta Kodeshem, it says that they are not redeemed, they are holy. And we darshan from there, we learn from there, Haim Kraven, they are offered, Ve'ein Temurasan Kreva, and their Temura, their substitutes, are not offered. What's being referred to over here is the general halacha by Temura is a person is not allowed to take an animal that is designated as a carbon and make a substitute for that animal. But if he does do so, that's called Temura, and the original and the substitute both have Kedusha, and the Temura is offered just like the original is offered. Now this halacha that the Temura is offered just like the original is offered is not true when it comes to Bechor, and it's not true when it comes to Meiser Behema and Karban Pesach. And so the Gemara now is saying, according to Rabbi Yossi HaGlili, we have a source for this halacha by Meiser Behema and Karban Pesach, because the source is the same source that we find by Bechor. It's the exact same pasuk. We'll take a look at the full pasuk. Ach Bechor Shor or Bechor Kesev or Bechor Eiz Lo Sifta Kodeshem. Lo Sifta Kodeshem is the part of the pasuk where darshaning Haim Kraven Ve'ein Temurasan Kreva. And again, according to Rabbi Yossi HaGlili, as Damam Tizrok, the plural Damam, Ala Mizbeach, Ves Chelbam Taktir, and the plural Chelbam indicate Meiser and Pesach as well. So we have a source by Bechor, Meiser, and Behema. As the Gemara now continues, the Mishnayos that deal with these halachas, Utanan, and we learned in the Mishnah in Meseches, Temuras, Bechor, Meiser. When it comes to the Temura, again, the substitute of Bechor and Meiser, Hein, Valdan, Valdan, Atsof Kol Ha'olam, Harein, Ki Bechor, Meiser, they and their offspring, and the offspring of the offspring forever, they are like Bechor and Meiser, V'yochlu b'muman l'bailim, and they're eaten with their blemishes by the owners. That indicates essentially that they are not offered. It's Ein Temuras and Kreva, Yochlu b'muman l'bailim, L'Bailim. We'll see Rashi in a moment on that. But again, that halacha now we see from this Mishnah in Tamur is true by Bechor and Meiser. And where do we see a Mishnah that has this halacha by Korban Pesach? Utanana, we learned in the Mishnah in Psachim, Amar Rabbi Yoshua said, Shamati shetmuras Pesach kareva. I heard that the substitute of a Korban Pesach is offered, but also Tmuras Pesach eina kareva. But on the other hand, I also heard that a substitute for a Korban Pesach is not offered. Here we see this halacha that at least in some context it's not offered, and we will see Rashi as well. V'ainli lefarish. I can't explain exactly when it's offered and when it's not offered, but that's what I heard. But in any case, the point of the Gemara is we have a source for these halachas that we find in the Mishnayos now from the pasuk. The source is going to be Lo Sifta Kodeshem, according to Rabbi Yossi Haglili. But Ela Rabbi Yishmael, but according to Rabbi Yishmael, Demuki Le Kule Bebechor, he understands that entire pasuk that we read earlier. This pasuk of Ach Bechor Shor is only dealing with Bechor. It's not dealing with Meiser and Korban Pesach. So Meiser Pesach to Lo Kreva Temurasan. The fact that by Meiser and Pesach you don't offer the substitute, Menole, from where do we learn that? And the Gemara says, according to Rabbi Yishmael, we have sources as follows. Meiser, when it comes to Meiser, Gomar, so we learn it from Avora mi Bechor, we learn it from a Gezeira Shava, from Bechor. We have forms of the word Avora by both Meiser and Bechor, and so we can make a Gezeira Shava. And Pesach, when it comes to Korban Pesach, Behedya Kosabe, it's written explicitly, Kesev, it says the word Kesev, it says the word sheep. Matam ad Lomar Im Kesev. Why does the Pasuk have to say Im Kesev? That's an inclusion. L'Rabos Temuras HaPesach Achar HaPesach, that includes the substitute for the Korban Pesach after Pesach, Shetikr of Shlomim, that is offered as a Shlomim, that kind is offered. Now, Yochol Af Lifnei HaPesach Kain, one might think even before Pesach that the Tmuras Pesach is offered. Talmud Lomar Hu, the Pasuk says who, and who serves as an exclusion, and we understand that Tmuras Pesach Lifnei HaPesach is not offered, and so again, that's how we have a source, according to Rabbi Yishmael, by both Meiser and Pesach. And Rashi explains, Hainu dechsiv kodesh heim mutanan. Again, we learned in the Mishnah, Kilomar Hainu de kodesh heim mimayit nami tmuras meiser pesach mehakrava. In other words, the words in the pasuk of kodesh heim are an exclusion, and they exclude tmuras meiser and pesach from hakrava. They exclude them from being offered, as we said. Again, kodesh heim kreven ve'in tmuras and kreva v'neilif minei taima dahanach beis mishnayis. And then we can learn the reasoning, meaning the source in the pasuk for these two mishnayis. The tanan behu delo karvi. Again, that it says in these mishnayos that the tmur is not offered. Ki bechor u'meiser, like bechor and meiser, de'ein niftin b'mum lochol kedusha al amos. What it means to say is that it's like bechor and meiser. This is talking about tmuras bechor and meiser. So it says hein valda, their offspring, the offspring of the offspring. Those are kibechoru meiser. They are like bechor and meiser. What does that mean? Meaning de'ein niftin b'mum lochol kedusha al amos. They're like bechor and meiser, that if they have a blemish, you don't redeem them, that the kedusha goes on money. Umiu, but nevertheless, lo kebechor meiser. They're not entirely like bechor and meiser lekarev. They're not offered. Elo yochlu bailim b'mum. What ends up happening is you wait till they develop a mum, they develop a blemish, and then the owners will eat them once they develop the blemish. That's what it means that harehen kebechor meiser. In some ways, they are like bechor and meiser, but v'yochlu b'mum and lebailim. They're eaten with their mum. They're not offered. Again, that we see by bechor and meiser. Utna nami b'psachim t'tmuras pesach lo karva. We also learn a Mishnah Psachim that Tmuras Pesach, the substitute for the Korban Pesach, is not offered. And again, in the Mishnah Psachim, there was this distinction made. Sometimes it is offered, sometimes it's not offered. Rabbi Yeshua said, Ainli Lafarish, I can't explain it. Rashi here continues, Ve'ainli Lafarish, I can't explain it. Hey Kreva, Ve'hei Lo Kreva, I can't explain which one is offered and which one is not. Ve'kaim Alon, now we've established the Tmura, Shehemer Bo Achar HaPesach. The rule is as follows. If you made the Tmura the substitute after Pesach, Kreva, then it is offered. The Tmuras Shlomim, that's considered to be an exchange or a substitute of a Korban Shlomim. V'shehemer bo kodem zmanu. Now, if the Tmura was made before the Zman of the Korban Pesach, lo karva, that one is not offered. The Tmuras HaPesachi, that's considered to be a substitute of a Korban Pesach, that is not offered. And the Gemara then said, Avora, we make a Gzeira Shava. In other words, according to Rabbi Yishmael, who says the whole pasuk is by Bechor, so where do we learn out Meiser and Pesach? Meiser is learned Avora. Kol asher Yavor tachas hashavet b'Meiser. It says the word Yavor by Meiser. V'havarta kol Peter b'Bechor. It says V'havarta by Bechor. And then when it comes to the Korban Pesach, so there we have a pasuk because it says Im Kesev. It says if there is a sheep. Now B'Shlomim Ksiv. Now that pasuk of Im Kesev is actually written by Shlomim because again, as we said, in a situation situation of Tmuras HaPesach where it's fundamentally considered a shlamim, achar HaPesach, then kreva, then it's offered. But if it's a Tmuras HaPesach before the time of the Korban Pesach, it's fundamentally considered Tmuras HaPesach, and so then it's not offered. So shekreva shlamim, again, then you bring it as a shlamim. Shahare moser nasa shlamim yishavar zmana. Once the time passes, it already becomes a shlamim. And who, when it says the word who, zevach pesach who, so who karev, that means that the pesach is offered, vein tmura so crave, and the tmura is not offered. And the Shinuye Nuschos notes that the proper gears of Rashi, Shahare Moser Nasa Shlamim, should be Moser HaPesach. It means whatever is remaining left over by Korban Pesach, those animals become Shlamim. And so again, if it has the status of a Shlamim, then it's considered, then the Tmuras Pesach, again after Pesach, is going to be brought, is going to be offered. And the Gemara continues and asks, V'chol hanach tanoi demafki leil haidam zvachechi yishafech ledrosha achrina. All of these Tanoim we quoted on the previous Amud that use the pasuk of dam zvachechi yishafech for an alternative drasha. So haikolan yitanan al mizbeach achitzon, this halacha that we had in the Mishnah, that all the applications of blood that are done in the outer mizbeach, shenisonan maton achas shekiper, that if you just apply one time, that's going to be an atonement, which we learned from v'dam zvachechi yishafech. So menalahu, where those Tanoim learn this halacha of our Mishnah from? And the Gemara says to that, Savri Lahuka Beis Hillel, all of these Tanoim, they hold like Beis Hillel in our Mishnah. Diamri, because Beis Hillel, they say, Avchatos shenesona matona achas keeper, even by Korban Chatos, one application is an atonement. That was a Machlokas Tanoim in the Mishnah. Beis Hillel said that even by Korban Chatos, one application is sufficient. And so those Tanoim, V'alfinon kulo mechatos, they're going to learn them all out from Korban Chatos. Rashi explains Avchatos again. According to Beis Hillel, this is true even by Korban Chatos. V'yalfinan lo mikroy v'shmaitin. We're going to learn that out from Sukkim in the Sugya. V'hadar yalfinan kulu zvachim echatos. So then they're going to learn out all other korbanos from Korban Chatos. And the Gemara continues at the two dots. The Mishnah said, V'hachatos shtei matanos. The chatos, it requires a minimum of 2 applications of blood. That was the opinion of Beis Shammai. Again, Beis Hillel say even 1 application is sufficient. And the Gemara says, Amar Rav Huna. Rav Huna says, My time with the Beis Shammai. What's the reason of Beis Shammai? What's the source? And the source is karnos, karnos, karnos. It says in the pasuk karnos, and it says it 3 times, and the Beis Shammai understand that it's being said in plural 3 times, so each one is 2. So 2 times 3, hare kan sheish. Essentially, it says the word karnos over here 6 times. And the general rule is when something is said once, so you're supposed to do it, but it's not absolutely required. If it's repeated, then it's ma'akev, then it's absolutely required. And so over here, arbo mitzvah. So it's said 4 times, that tells you a mitzvah, l'chatchila, should be done in that fashion. Ushtayim la'akev, and then the additional 2 times, it's like it's repeating 2 of them, and so therefore it says that 2 out of the 4 are required. That's how Beis Shammai understand that 2 of the 4 are required. And the Gemara continues with Beis Hillel. Now, Beis Hillel, they say karnos, 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 that in terms of the way it's written in the pasuk, 2 of the times there is no vav, so it's written as if it's singular. So it is actually twice that it says karnos singular, and once that it says karnos in plural. That's 1, 1, and 2. Hare kan arba, that's actually just a total of 4, and we understand that to be shalosh lemitzvah. 3 of them are a mitzvah lechatchila, v'achas la'akev, and 1 of them is ma'akev. It means to say that 1 of them is a requirement. The Gemara says, V'ema kulu l'mitzvah, but why not say that they're all for a mitzvah? Why don't we say all 4 of them, that you have to apply to all 4, l'chatchila, but none of them are required? And the Gemara says that's just simply impossible. Kapara b'chti lo eshkachon. You don't find an atonement for nothing. There has to be at least 1 required application, and so therefore Beis Hillel say that again, 1 of the 4 is absolutely required. And the Gemara continues with another explanation in Beis Hillel. If you want, I could say, Hainu time of the Beis Hillel. The reason of Beis Hillel is as follows. Ahani mikra v'ahani masores. We can use the mikra, which is the way it's read. Again, it's read in plural. And also, we can also use the masores, the way that it is written, which again, as we said, 2 of the times is singular and 1 is plural. And the Gemara explains, Ahani mikra l'tefuye chada. The mikra, the way it's read, that is going to add on 1. V'ahani masores l'vitzure chada. And then the masores, the way it's written, that's going to be enough to subtract 1, and so again, you're going to end up with a requirement, an absolute requirement of 1, as we will see in Rashi. And before seeing Rashi, we will take a look at the full psukim. V'lokach hakohen midam hachatos be'etzbo v'nasan al karnos mizbach ha'ola. The pasuk also says, V'lokach hakohen midama be'etzbo v'nasan al karnos mizbach ha'ola. And finally, the pasuk also says, V'lokach hakohen midam hachatos be'etzbo v'nasan al karnos mizbach ha'ola. Those are the 3 times that it says the word karnos. And Rashi explains, Karnos, Shalosh Parshios Nemru Bechatos HaChitzonos. There are 3 Parshios that are said by the Chatos, the carbon Chatoses that are brought in the outer Mizbeach, Bevayikra and Sefer Vayikra, Achas B'Seir Nasi. One is by the he-goat that is brought by the Nasi, Ubeiz Bechatos Yachid, and then there are 2 times it's written by the individual's Chatos, Achas Bekisba v'Achas B'Seira, 1 time by the Kisba, by the sheep, and 1 time by the Seira, by the goat, the female sheep and the female goat. B'Shtayim Ksiv al Karnos Chaser. Now in 2 of the times, it says the word Karnos Chaser, meaning it doesn't have a Vav, v'Achas Mali, and then 1 of the times it actually has a Vav. Ubeishamai Islu, now Beishamai, they hold, Yesh Eim Lamikro, we follow the way that it's read, so Harei Kan Sheish, so it's a total of 6. Ve'ein b'mizbeach ela arba. Now the mizbeach itself only has 4 corners. V'ashtayim yiseros lo nemru elo shashano aleh hakasav la'akev. So the 2 extra times that it says that it refers to the horns, the karnos, so that's just repeating in order to say it's required, and so therefore arba nemru lemitzvah. We understand that 4 are said as a mitzvah lechatchila, shemitzvah ba'arba matanos. It's a mitzvah to do 4 applications of the blood, ushtayim nishnu mehen la'akev, and then 2 are repeated to say that 2 are required. Ubeis Hillel savri, now Beis Hillel they hold yeshem lamasoras, that we follow the way it's written. Hilkach harei dalit, so therefore you have a total of 4. Gimel mehen lemitzvah, 3 of them are a mitzvah nemru, that's why they're said. Mitzvah lechatchila liten afalei, and it's a lechatchila mitzvah to place the blood even on them. V'achas ma'akeves, and then 1 of them is ma'akev, 1 of them is required. Kidim mefarish v'yazal, as will be explained. The Gemara asked him, Beis Hillel, ve'ema kulu l'mitzvah, why don't we say they're all a mitzvah? Ve'em kan achas li'akev, none of them are required. Sharei lo shana be'achas me'en, because none of them were repeated. And to that the Gemara said, B'chdi, below matan damim, to get a kapara for nothing, with no application of blood, that's impossible. And then the Gemara said, we could explain Beis Hillel as follows, that ahani mikra demashma sheish, that the pasuk, the way it's read, so that is effective, so to speak, that's understood as 6. V'ahani mesoras, but we also use the mesoras, the way it is written, not only the way it's read, the mashma arba, because that's mashma 4. In other words, we take both of them seriously, and so you have sources for 6 and you have sources for 4. So hilkach tfei chada mesoras, so therefore you just basically take the number right in between 6 and 4, which is 5. That's 1 additional. Ubatzer chada mikra, you should add 1 on the mesoras, take 1 away from the mikra from the way it's read, take 1 away from 6, add 1 to 4, find that number in the middle. V'haviluhu chamesh, and so the number that we have is really going to be 5. It's as if, according to Beis Hillel, that it says the word karnos 5 times. So nimsa shashana ba'achas. So if you learn that way, it comes out that it's repeated 1 time, and that's how Beis Hillel understand that the requirement is just 1. But the Gemara continues and asks on this understanding of Beis Hillel, Elamayat, according to that, letotafos, letotafos, letotafos. It says totafos by tefillin, and again over there also 2 of the times it's written as singular, and 1 of the times it's written as plural. It's always read as plural. So why don't we apply the same logic? We should say that it's the number between 4 and 5. Harekan arba, so you have over here 4, ahani mikra, and we're going to say that the mikra, the way it's read, is effective, v'ahani mesoras, but we'll also say that the way it's written is effective, and so chamisha bati boy lemeh, but according to that, you would need to have 5 compartments when it comes to the tefillin, because again, we're going to say that in latotafos beinei necha, that we have the number 4 and we have the number 6, depending on whether we're going by the reading or the way that it's written, and we'll take the number right in between. So why don't we say that? And the Gemara says to that, Savar lo Rabbi Akiva, he holds, or they hold, Beis Hillel, they hold like Rabbi Akiva, Diomar tat bekasbi shtayim, and paspa afrike shtayim, the tat in the language of the Kasbi, that means 2, and pas in the language of Afrike, of Africa, that means 2, and so therefore really totafos simply means 4, based on that. And the Gemara continues and asks, Elamayata, but according to what we're saying, that you take that number in between, basukos, 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 when it comes to sukkah also, 2 of the times it's written in the singular, 1 of the time it's written in the plural, it's always read in the plural, ahani mikra, ahani mesoras, we should say that both the reading and the writing are taken into account, and chamisha defanta, boy lebebad, you should have to make 5 walls when it comes to a sukkah. And Rashi explains, letotafos, letotafos, letotafos. The alfinan mino, we learn from letotafos, arba bottom letfillin, that there are 4 compartments in the tefillin. Vanon bekula letotafos, karina namya hanikra. Again, it should be the same thing. We should say that we go by the way that it's read, and we go by the way that it's written, and we take the number in between. And to that, the Gemara said, Savri Beis Hillel Rabbi Akiva, Beis Hillel hold like Rabbi Akiva, the yolif lo mikra achrina. They learn it from a different pasuk. Again, they learn it from the idea of tat bekaspi is shtayim, and tat and pas ba'afrike is shtayim. Yerushalayim. Kaspi Rashi says it's Shem Makom, that's the name of a place. And we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Lamed Ches Amud Aleph.